usual venue, the Good Hope Chambers, as Honorable James is sitting down. And the honorable member there is also leaving the chambers because he's not a member of the committee. And then these are the four speakers that were left on our list. That is, we will take the speakers in this order. It will be Honorable Mngango, Honorable Vessels, Honorable Souls, and Honorable James. The honorable members from the EFF have requested that we recuse them. They are attending the committee on the presidency. So in the event they finish, they will come and rejoin the proceedings. Honorable Mngango, your time starts now.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Good afternoon, Mr. O'Sullivan. Thank you. Can you hear me? One, two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, do you still call yourself and those that work with you as quote unquote corruption fighters? Do you still actually call yourself as corruption fighters?
Well, I suppose that's the function of forensics for justice. So I suppose you could say that.
I'm asking this because there is a notion that those that call themselves corruption fighters, they feel that they are enjoying some kind of immunity from the operation of the law. What would be your take on that one? To a point actually where they feel that the being a corruption fighter actually it actually absolves you from any criminal prosecution.
Well, if that is the case, I've yet to see the evidence of that because, as I said previously, I spent 88 days on 6 trials and 140 days preparing for that 88 days on 6 trials. And of the 6 trials, I was acquitted on 4. One, the state withdrew, and the other one was struck off the roll. So I don't think I was immune at all. In fact, I was a target.
Why would you then consider any criminal prosecution against you as a corruption, fighter, amounting to state capture?
Chair, if you look at the DPCI judge report, which is there's two such reports, and if you look at the DPCI judge reports, and there were, by the way, 2 separate judges because the DPCI judge changed between the first report and the second report. And the second report dealt with the allegations I had made, and the first report dealt with the allegations that Colonel Kutsia had made. And both those DPCI judge reports, which cumulatively was 5 years of investigation and scathing findings. So that's the two DPCI judge reports. But if we then go and look at the judgments that the magistrate court in Randburg, when the trumped up cases against me on which I was acquitted, and the judgment in the trumped up case against me in the Kempton Park Court, upon which I was acquitted, both of the judges in the Randburg Regional Court made scathing findings against the state. And they made it clear that the state had gone above and beyond the call of duty in targeting me. And the Randburg, the Kempton Park magistrate also made scathing findings against the police for targeting me. So I think those judgments are a matter of fact, and they speak for themselves.
Well, thank you. Let's look at the Camille drift matter. Are you familiar with that?
I am.
Yes. What was happening there? Who were those people who were charged there, and for and for what? What were the charges leveled against them?
Are you talking about the Camille drift case that I opened, or the Camille drift case that the counter investigation team opened against me?
I'm talking about the Camille drift case, which Advocate Mashuka came and actually talked about here.
Yeah. So, in the first place, Advocate Mashuka based all of his false allegations on the counter investigation that was carried out by the Mabula team. And those statements contained within the docket, we have been able to prove beyond reasonable doubt that those statements were procured by police officials who wrote the statements for the individuals and told them to sign them, and that's what they did. And the evidence they produced in those statements, unfortunately, they lied. And we can prove that because we have the voice recordings of the meetings we had at Sable Hills estate. And we have the voice recording of the meeting we had with the builder, the contractor, Frikkie de Blanche. And we have the voice recording of the meeting that we had with Alwyn Dupré. And when you put all those voice recordings together and play them or read the transcripts, you can see that there's the transcripts are diametrically opposed to the purported evidence that's contained within the Camille Drift docket, the docket that was opened by Mabula. Now, when Mabula opened the docket, he did it in January 2017. And 3 weeks later, miraculously, based on these trumped up statements with no exercise, normally what happens is a person becomes under the attention of a prosecutor. The prosecutor will instruct the investigating officer to go take a warning statement. That's called audi alteram partem. In other words, get the other person's version of events. None of that took place with the fake docket that was opened by the Northwest team. In fact, that docket was open for one purpose and one purpose only, and that was to interrupt and stop the investigation into a corrupt acting chief of police, namely General Phaahlane.
How far is the investigation on that docket now? Where is it now? Where is this case now?
The docket was struck off the roll 9 years ago. And it's only been resuscitated. And actually, the case itself hasn't been resuscitated, but the docket has been brought back to be looked at and assessed as a result of the interactions between certain members of this committee and the new NDPP. And I wrote to the new NDPP, and he supplied me with a reply. And the reply made it clear that all the matters that I had raised in that reopening, or it's not the reopening of the docket, but the reassessment of the docket. What I, in fact, said, I don't know what happens when I lean like this, it makes a noise. When I wrote to the NDPP, when I wrote to the NDPP, I asked him to take into consideration a whole lot of other cases which had not been considered. And those cases, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 16 other dockets, which are directly related to the cases that we opened against General Phaahlane. And the Director of Public Prosecutions wrote back to me. And when he wrote back to me,
Thank you.
he made it clear that all of those would be taken into account.
Now that you have actually mentioned the dockets that were opened against General Phaahlane, I was actually going to ask you whether you are familiar with the group that called themselves Security WhatsApp Group. And and if so, what is the relationship between the Phaahlane task team and the Security WhatsApp Group? When Mr. Kabinde was here, he made mention of the existence of a Phaahlane task team. Are you familiar with those two groups?
I'm aware of what happened. I didn't have WhatsApp, but I'm aware that a WhatsApp group was formed, and it was called Security. And this was formed after both myself and the late Mandla Mashlangu received death threats. And the death threats are on the record in my statement. Makes it crystal clear that there was an intention to murder both of us. And after that, there was a concern that there might be an attempt to murder both of us or other members of the group. So somewhere along the way, I think it was either Mandla or one of them formed a WhatsApp group so that if there was a security threat, they could talk to each other about it. But as I said, I wasn't on WhatsApp, so I don't really have any knowledge other than the fact that such a group was formed. Actually, at the time, I didn't even know such a group was formed. I only found out about it later. It's working. I don't know what to do. Okay.
I hope that the chairman's clock has actually been stopped.
What's happened now? It was working. I could hear it.
And I'm already owed 10 minutes.
No, it can be 10 minutes. Well. Please pause.
Oh,
No,
okay.
pause on. Remember, when he speaks, there's a sound that goes like twee, so they are attending to it. Are you done now?
Thank you.
You can proceed on.
Yeah, I actually wanted to go on and say, when Mr. Kabinde was here, he actually outlined to us why the Phaahlane tax team was actually formed and what was the purpose of actually having a Phaahlane task team. One, to ensure that Phaahlane actually goes to jail. And secondly, to ensure that General Phaahlane is not confirmed ultimately as the National Commissioner of the Police. And he goes on to say that the braai, the gathering that you prefer to call a braai, or others call a book launch, Mr. Kabinde, when he was here, he said it was neither of the two, but it was a meeting which was ostensibly called and convened and coordinated by Ms. Trent to actually concoct ways to ensure that General Phaahlane does not ever become a national commissioner. What would you say to that? Because Mr. Kabinde said you actually convened that meeting and it was coordinated. Invitations came from your partner, Ms. Trent.
So Chairman, of course, this would be the same Cedric Nkobindi who was offered the job at the rank of brigadier in the police for turning against the IPID investigators and fabricating these stories. So other than to say that, you know, Mr. Nkobindi and the truth are very big strangers, everything he told this committee was a lie, and he knows it was a lie. I don't know what's happening. This thing is falling off. So I'm absolutely convinced, I've got it now, it's all right. I'm absolutely convinced that Mr. Nkobindi was part of the conspiracy, part and parcel of the conspiracy to derail the Phaahlane investigation. And he made it clear by virtue of his conduct. And how a person can 1 minute be an investigator with IPID and the next minute be working with the team that's trying to derail the investigation into the acting commissioner of police. So I've had absolutely no doubt that Mr. Nkobindi was very dishonest when he provided evidence at this committee. He lied through his teeth. And he forgot to mention that he was offered a job as a brigadier. He forgot to mention that Humbalani Kuba was also offered a job, I think, as a major general or a lieutenant general. And all they had to do was turn into witnesses. By the way, according to Humbalani Kuba's statement, he said that General Mkonasi
Thank you.
told...
Thank you so much, Mr. O'Sullivan. Thank you so much, Pankazita.
Chair,
And we take
Chair,
honorable vessels.
Chair. Maybe before that, just to let you know that there's been a problem with the mic of the witness. So Honorable Mwango had to pause for that mic to be fixed, so the secretariat fixed, so the proceedings were stalled.
Wow.
But it was about two minutes.
Yeah, I have given him those 2 minutes. The 2 minutes have been given.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, even though I want to say it was more than 2 minutes, but
No, it's fine.
Honorable, Mr. O'Sullivan, there is an observation which was made by Advocate Mashuka yesterday when he was here. He said, and I quote, "In my opinion, there was evidence of a sustained, continuous, unlawful campaign to target Phaahlane and other victims. Trent, O'Sullivan, and IPID officers were an enterprise. They even had a WhatsApp group formed during the investigations against Phaahlane. What would be your take on that one?"
Well, everybody's entitled to their opinion, but that opinion is a dishonest opinion. Advocate Mashuka knows that I wasn't on any WhatsApp group, and I never formed part of any WhatsApp group. So for him to say that I was part of a WhatsApp group is a total lie. Secondly, the miracle that we saw in the criminal justice system, where somebody opens a docket the second week of January and the first week of February, arrest warrants are issued. It just didn't happen on any other case in this country, that an investigation can be completed and a docket registered and arrest warrants issued without even the alleged suspects having given their version of events. So the whole thing was a complete setup. And the setup included all the people of the Northwest team, who, by the way, I understand, had regular meetings with General Phaahlane, and that included regular meetings with Michael Mashuka. And it's sad, but the reality is that there was absolutely no case to answer, and there's still no case to answer.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Have you asked all the questions? The microphone incident might have disrupted your chain of thought. Do you still have one more question to ask?
Well, indeed it has. But I'm actually banking on the injury time that the chairperson and in his benevolence will make it available to us.
Okay. Thank you so much. Honorable Vessels.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and Honorable Matthys. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Mr. O'Sullivan. Sir, you this morning said, and I quote to a large extent verbatim, that if you haven't stuck to your guns, General Phaahlane would have gotten away with it, and the "it" refers to the corrupt activities, the alleged corrupt activities. But I do want to refer you to an email that we were provided with yesterday. And I think you have been made privy to those emails. It's, if I understand it correctly, the first email that you sent to General Phaahlane, and it was on the 12th of February 2016. And in that email, you address it to the Dear Acting Commissioner of Police. I'm not going to read everything, but you then say that I always thought you were straight until I saw how you were helping Mono. Then I started looking into you and I found out that you have skeletons in the cupboard too. In fact, more skeletons than Celebi had. You obviously know what you've been up to for the last few years. No one knows better than you. Now I know too, and that's after only a week of digging into you. And then you fix this problem with Mono and Creature and fix it now. Or you'll go the same way as Celebi. That's a guarantee. You fix Mono and Creature, and I will lose interest in you. If you don't, I'll be all over you like a bad-fitting suit, and so forth, and so forth. Now, Mr. O'Sullivan, that seems like you say to him to address the problem. We don't have to talk about the problem that you identified with the Creature and the Mono situation, but you putting it to him that he should act on that. And if he does not, you are going to act on the skeletons in his closet. So that does not seem as though you found out about this corruption and you made it your mission to get him to be held accountable. Because if he did what you wanted him to do, you would have lost, and you said you lost interest in him. So can you comment on this email?
Yes, thank you. Chairman, this email was intentionally disruptive. By this stage, the docket was ready to open. In fact, I opened it a week later. I'd already been investigating him for several months. And this was what we call a curveball. You throw somebody a curveball to see what they're going to do about it. Well, we know what he was going to do about it, because 6 weeks after that email, I was arrested and dragged off a plane at OR Tambo Airport in front of my children. So this was not factually truthful on my side. It was a deliberate curveball intended to wrong footing, and it had that effect.
Yeah, I hear you. So you would have gone ahead with the corruption charges regardless.
The docket was ready. I opened it, I think, less than a week after this. And I had been investigating that since the previous May. So it wasn't, this was an intentional curveball to make him think that he might get off the hook. But there was absolutely no way he was going to get off the hook.
Okay. When were you dragged off an airplane?
End of March.
2016.
Correct.
But there's an interview that you say, you refer to that situation, and you say that that was with regards to the Dudu Mnyeni investigation.
Oh.
Or was that a different drag off a plane?
No. Everything was linked. All of it was linked. So what happened was, and of course there will be members here that will disagree with this, but what happened was, the then president appointed General Phaahlane as acting commissioner of police. And by the way, he sat as acting commissioner of police from August 2015, when General Pieka was suspended. Now, at the same time, or in that period, if you look at our document called Joining the Dots, we set out a chronology of how state capture took place. And that chronology only dealt with the capture of the criminal justice system. It didn't deal, although it mentioned, it didn't deal in detail with the capture of Eskom or Transnet or Prausa. But what we said in that document was the capture of the criminal justice system became necessary in order to shield the people that were involved in the bigger project of state capture. So they had to have, and I think we've said it in the Joining the Dots document, that if we'd have had an effective criminal justice system at that time, state capture would not have taken place, because good cops at the head of the police and the head of the prosecution service, the whole lot was captured. So the courts found that the appointment of Mokotedi was unlawful. The court found the appointment of Nklemeza was unlawful. The court found the appointment of Sean Abrahams was unlawful. The court found the suspension of Robert McBride was unlawful. So you had this capturing of the criminal justice system, and we were trying to say, this has to be stopped.
Okay. So it was linked.
All of it linked. And unfortunately, you have this situation where you've got police officials, and it's in one of my sworn statements, not here, but it's in one of my sworn statements against the unlawful arrest where I was dragged off the plane.
Yes.
I had Mokateri with handcuffs behind my back, banging me in the chest like this and telling me, you don't know how you've upset Dudu Mayeni. Then they had a secret meeting, which I wasn't allowed to attend, where they wanted me to pack my bags, go to the airport, hand in my citizenship, and leave the country.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir. Just on another arrest you spoke of earlier this morning, and the previous time that you testified here, you mentioned or you said that you were tortured for 3 days.
Yes.
Did you lay any complaint with regards to that?
Absolutely. There's a docket been laid, and
Laid.
it had been laid at that time. I opened a criminal docket for torture.
And was there any outcome?
Well, unfortunately, the DPCI judge ruled that my constitutional rights were violated, but he couldn't see the torture. But if you look at the definition of the Torture Act, it absolutely amounted to torture. If you look at the definition, I don't have it in front of me, but if you look at the definition of the Torture Act, arresting a person, detaining them in unsavory conditions as revenge for them opening corruption dockets against people amounts to torture. And I'm adamant that that is the case.
It will depend if those elements of that crime has been proved. But the fact is, so you say that there's a judgment in that case. We can find that judgment.
It's in the DPCI. If it's mind blowing what's in the DPCI judge report. It's mind blowing.
Okay. Then I want to quickly get to the FDA, the forensic, what are they called? Forensic diagnostic something.
No, this is Keith Keating's company.
That's correct, yeah.
Forensic Data Analysts.
Data analyst, that's it, FDA. Now, am I correct to say that that is to a large extent to the heart of the corruption allegations against General Phaahlane?
It's not the allegations that we opened. So we opened the case against General Phaahlane. A copy of my docket is in my submission. The docket I opened was that he had taken money, cash, from a police supplier who supply squirrel hair fingerprint brushes,
Yes.
and the powders and the chemicals for crime scene management.
But you also referred to Keith in your email correspondence with the prosecutor and with Sean Abrams and so forth.
Later I did, because you only had to see what was coming out in the media. Very serious articles. In fact, I saw it along with the members that were present at the police portfolio committee meeting, where they put up a presentation. IPID put up the presentation.
Correct.
I wrote to Parliament and I asked for a copy of that presentation, and I got it. And that presentation very clearly showed that for forensic data analysts, or whatever the company was called, it very clearly showed that they had been ripping off the police for a very long time.
Yes, although there was a court judgment now in 2025, December 2025, I think on the 9th of December, where it was, where in the judgment, it says that it was found that none of the concerns raised at that portfolio committee and at the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament had any merit.
I haven't seen that judgment.
Yeah, but did you investigate the FDA situation at
No,
all? Do you just refer to it because it was in the media and it was in Parliament?
Correct. At one of the meetings, I can't remember, I think it was the police portfolio meeting, the chairman of the police portfolio or the vice chairman of the police portfolio committee pointed to Keith Keating sitting at the back while the meeting was going on, and they were showing pictures. And by the way, if there's a judgment that says there's no involvement there, I think that's they're probably talking about one narrow aspect of that.
There's a report by, well, there was a whole investigation and a report by General Sitole on that whole matter.
I think that related to the software only.
That might be.
There was a whole lot of other allegations relating to the supply of what they call rough-in lights.
Yes.
It was all in the public domain.
Okay, so you weren't involved in those cases, although you did send messages to Keith.
Yes.
Why would you do that if that's why is Keith of your concern if?
Because anybody that's bribing police,
Allegedly bribing police.
allegedly bribing police, anybody that's allegedly involved in that activity need to face the music, especially when it comes to my attention that the person in question is allegedly bankrolling conduct against others, including myself. So
you see, Mr. O'Sullivan, it's very difficult because a lot of these aspects are in court. The allegations against General Phaahlane, we can't as a committee make a determination, is he guilty of corruption or not? The court will have to, in those criminal cases, find that and make a adjudication on that. But I think what is important is, and we touched on it in your previous appearance as well, what is your motivation? And I know that you say you are anti-corruption. But I want to once again ask you, is there anything else that motivates you to and other members referred to it earlier today as well? You do choose to put a lot of energy in certain corruption cases. Corruption has normalized in South Africa. There's corruption everywhere. You can look at corruption everywhere, but you choose to focus. And I'm not saying that there's no merit in those cases that you are focusing on. But the question is, why are you focusing on those cases? Are there any other motivation other than being an anti-corruption fighter?
yeah, so that would probably be it, Chairman, because if I had to, I already work 16 hours a day. If I had to take on every corruption case in the country, I'm going to run out of energy and time. But once I get my teeth into something, I think Marion Tam wrote an article in Daily Maverick, and she described me by saying, Paul O'Sullivan hates corrupt cops like a dog hates fleas.
Okay, but...
And when you become a victim of those corrupt cops, which I was, I then went out of my way to expose their conduct and the people that what I believe to be their accomplices.
Yeah, that's well noted, because after the Celebi focus on Celebi and the exposure of Celebi's wrongdoing, there was a lot of attention then, or a lot of cases opened against you and a lot of scrutiny of you as well. Am I correct?
The cases that were opened against me were counter investigations. Okay. So what happened was, after the Celebi prosecution, I opened cases against the people within the criminal justice system that had unlawfully assisted Jackie Celebi. So what they did, they all got together, and I'm talking about Mogoba Jiba, Lawrence Mwebi, Prince Mokotedi. they all got together and they started opening cases against me.
Okay.
So I saw that as just retaliatory. They were trying to discredit me. We had the spokesman of the police
Okay.
issuing
very-
statements
sorry,
saying that
Mr.
I would
Sullivan,
be
think
arrested.
My time is going to be finished now. But one very quick last aspect, it was asked to you about the National Credit Act and and I asked you the previous time about you doing credit checks on, you said in a conference that you did credit checks on the candidates for the National Commissioner position. And you spoke in that conference on General Mola's credit record and so forth. And I asked you what authorized.
It was lifestyle.
Yes, but you use the credit information to say that he has revolving credit and so forth.
Yes.
Now, Regulation 18.4 of the National Credit Act says that you can do credit checks, but only in the course of investigating fraud, but only if the South African Police Service are investigating fraud. But that's
No,
what the regulation says.
There's another section, I don't have the act in front of me now, but there's another section that deals with fraud investigations of fraud prevention.
Okay, but in those, that might be then, if that's your interpretation. But when you were doing these lifestyle audits for the shortlisting of candidates for the National Commissioner position, you weren't investigating fraud. You didn't have a mandate.
It's called fraud prevention. I was requested to do it. I know the person that requested me to do it has since denied requesting me to do it, but I have all the emails.
Did you have a mandate?
So, yes, I was requested to do it. And as I've said already, the person that requested me to do it has since denied requesting me to do it. But why would I now, where did I get the names from? He gave me a list of names. He said to me that they urgently wanted to know if any of these people had any fraud or other issues to deal with. And I issued that report as requested.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. O'Sullivan. Thank you, Chairperson.
Honorable Sols.
Chair, when do I finish? It's now 14:33.
53.
At 53, okay. Mr. O'Sullivan, good afternoon. Well, good afternoon, Mr. O'Sullivan.
Hello.
Let me start by saying I maintain my stance about you. And your heroism cannot be disputed or erased from written records, even by all the emotions. But your holes must also be tested. And that is why we are here today. I too have holes. As a matter of fact, I have a lot of holes. So we've heard testimony yesterday about those holes. And so I'm going to ask you questions on clarity to test whether this is true or not. Mr. O'Sullivan, in your book, Stop Me If You Can, you only explicitly call two people a friend. Number one, Phaahlane from the UK House of Lords. And the second person you call a friend is Mr. Herman Mashaba, the current president of Action SA. Is Mr. Mashaba still your friend?
It's a very hard question to answer. Let's say we've had words, but I think you can't ditch a friendship of many, many years overnight. So we've had words, but I still consider him my friend, and I still consider his wife, Connie, my friend. Of course, he's no longer my political friend, but I would say he's probably still my friend, yes.
Does he feel the same way? Have you done something? Why would your friend, through his party, want to show the world that you are corrupt?
What do you call it? False narrative. If somebody wants to paint a picture, and I made the point quite strongly that if you're going to go and support somebody who may be engaged in criminal conduct without realizing that the person you're supporting may be engaged in criminal conduct, and then when you point out the obvious, now the only way they can retaliate is to accuse me of being involved in criminal conduct. And I just simply say, well, come with the facts. I've heard people saying that I'm embroiled with drug cartels. What a lot of rubbish. You know, when you make statements like that without any factual basis whatsoever, I accept that if you're going to be a corruption fighter, you're going to attract a lot of negativity. And I accept that that goes with the territory. And I accept that sometimes the methodology I use to fight corruption would be classed as having holes in it. But at the end of the day, if I look at the record and the success rate of the people that are now facing or already face the criminal justice system are in prison, I'm satisfied that we won a lot more cases than we lost.
Yes, I'm the first one to accept what's in writing about the heroic acts. Today, we're just zooming into the holes. Are you saying with your response, you pointed out something to Mr. Mashaba, and that's the reason why he is, as you say, pushing a narrative?
Actually, Mr. Mashaba didn't push any narrative at all. It wasn't Herman, it was some other fellow, I forget his name now, who started publishing. And by the way, I didn't pick the fight. I'm not on social
Mr.
media,
Sullivan.
and somebody brought me evidence of this person posting things on social media about me.
In this committee,
Yes,
Action SA brought a document to show that you have taken money from the slush fund.
no,
No?
no.
What happened?
So I think it was pointed out that that is an incorrect.
Yes, that's the point I'm saying. Action SA brought something
Yes,
incorrect
correct.
to show that you are possibly corrupt. I want to understand.
Yeah,
Why would they do that when the president is your friend?
because there's a narrative out there, and some people are quite happy to jump on the bandwagon and pursue that narrative. I'm satisfied that I've never received 1 cent from the slush fund.
Okay. So for the record, your friend is jumping on a bandwagon to show that you are corrupt.
So I don't believe my friend has done that.
Okay.
I don't believe he's a member of the House. He formed Action SA. And by the way, when he formed Action SA, I made donations to it just because I liked what he was doing. But you know, it is what it is.
Yesterday, we touched on your modus operandi or how you operate. And I want to test that now because it was testified that how you operate is, number one, you find dirt on senior SAPS officials or whoever you target, number one. And then after finding dirt, you then threaten them with exposing that unless they do something you want them to do. If they obey you, then you leave them alone. If they don't, you then go after them until they give in to your perceived power. Is that true?
Absolutely not true. And if it were true, I belong in prison.
All right. There's a copy of an email before you. Is that your email? Did you pen that email?
Yes,
It's dated the 12th of February to General Phaahlane.
correct,
You accept? It's yours.
correct.
Now, in this email, you say, and we're testing whether this is your modus operandi. You say to General Phaahlane, I think you know what I mean, and you should be worried. You said, first you started off by saying, after only a week of digging into you, and I continue the investigations, I will dig up more evidence against you, and then you say, I think you know what I mean, and you should be worried, very worried, as it does not look good what I am uncovering. You accept? Step one, you are saying in this email you dug up dirt on him.
No, so in fact, as I can't remember which member it was, but another member asked me about the same email. And I explained then, Chair, that this email was an intentional ruse. It wasn't truthful. It was deliberately intended to get a reaction out of General Phaahlane.
That's okay, Mr. Paul O'Sullivan. What I want to gather is you are saying to General Phaahlane, I've got dirt on you. That's what you are saying. So we're trying to test your modus operandi. You're telling him I've got dirt on you. Step number two, you then give him an ultimatum. You say you fix this problem with Munu and Kreja and fix it now. Or you'll go the same way as Celebi, right? Step two, you now give an ultimatum. Step three, you say you fix Munu or Kreja and I will lose interest in you. You do what I want, I will lose interest in you. If you don't, I will be all over you like a bad fitting salt. If you try any dirty tricks as your predecessors, I'll eat you for breakfast and still be hungry afterwards. This shows step by step a modus operandi. What is the reason that you, as an independent investigator who discovered acts of corruption by an acting national commissioner at the time, you were willing to look the other way?
No.
You said it here.
Yes, but as I've explained before, this was a deliberate ruse. In other words, it was intended to distract him. It was intended to get a reaction out of him, and it had the desired result. It resulted in him taking steps.
Actually, it didn't. It didn't. I'll tell you why it didn't. And this is your modus operandi. That's a whole. So corruption is only dealt with against those you decide it must be dealt with. You then say, if I do not see positive action by you before the 22nd of February 2016, I shall start a process aimed solely at bringing you to book and will leave Munu alone thereafter and focus only on you. You claimed that Munu is corrupt and the acting national commissioner must deal with him. But when General Phaahlane did not obey your instruction, you were willing to totally leave Munu alone.
Not the case, Chairman. I'd already opened the docket against Munu. And in fact,
I'm simply basing it on what you say.
yes, but as I've explained already, this was a deliberate ruse. It was intentional. It was intended to mislead Phaahlane.
Yes. So
because sometimes what you have to do is throw a curved ball, because if you straight down the line and you tell them what you're going to do, and that's what the intention was here, to trick him into making a mistake.
I don't believe you. I'll tell you why I don't believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Based on evidence before me, not based on what you say. I don't know your intentions. I can only judge you based on your email. And what your email shows is you were willing to look the other way, even though both was alleged corrupt. When General Phaahlane didn't do it, you said you're going to come after him. He didn't obey you. Then you came after him. Because right after that, on the 9th of November, 2016, that's when you went to Sable Hills.
No, Chairman, I'd already been at Sable Hills before I sent this email.
I didn't say so. I said the 22nd of February is when you sent the email. I'm actually proving that what got you to Sable Hills is after the email.
No, I'd already been to, before this email was sent, I'd been to Sable Hills in November.
Yes, you were doing your investigations.
November the previous year.
You were doing your investigations. You came, that's how, when you wrote this email, you were saying to General Phaahlane, I have things on you.
Yes, but as I've
Yes.
explained, Chairman,
Now
this
let's
was a deliberate
Uh-huh.
curveball intended to wrong footing.
And I disagree. And
Okay.
I'm showing you not based on thumb sucking. I'm showing you based on what you've put before us. You then go in November to Sable Hills.
Sorry, Chair, I'd been in November the previous
We
year.
agree, and we've just agreed on that, Mr.
No, the previous year, not the
We
November
just agreed you were
2016.
there before.
Pardon me?
In November, when did you go?
November 2015.
It says 2016 is when did the issue that is on contention now, when you visited with IPID members, when did
Okay,
you?
so Chair, I'd already opened this docket. The docket had
Mr.
already,
O'Sullivan, my
I'm
time
trying
is
to-
almost up.
I'm trying to explain the chronology.
What I want to know is,
Yeah.
when did you go to Sable Hills with IPID officials?
A year later, or 10 months later,
After the email?
10 months after the email.
That's
But
what
the
I'm
docket-
saying. Hold on.
The
That's
docket was already open by then.
fine. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm saying you went after sending him the threats, after he disobeyed you.
No.
You then went to Sable Hills 11 months later,
Yeah, unfortunately,
right?
the delay of 11 months was caused by the capture of IPID.
That's fine. So let's deal with what happened when you now went there. When you got there, you come there with IPID officials.
Mm.
You testified that you did not posture yourself as an IPID official. You didn't.
I can prove it.
Yes, I know you can prove it. What I want you to prove is, you did not say with your mouth, I am an IPID official. You didn't say that.
No,
But did you say with your mouth, you are not?
I gave my business card. I'll give you one. It shows exactly who I am.
To whom did you give it?
To the people at Sable Hills Estate. And I sent an email. And
But-
I sent an email.
Mr. Sullivan,
And in the email, it's got Paul O'Sullivan Associates at the bottom.
when did you say to Mr. Euster that you testified about earlier?
I think I didn't say anything.
Yes, you didn't. And that's what I'm saying. So you did not, you were not clear. I'm not an IPID official. Now, logically, if a group of people comes and two people are there as police, everyone's going to think everyone there in that group is police until one of them who's not says, I'm not.
Yeah, it could be seen that way, but
It is that way because your defense is you didn't posture yourself by saying you are a cop.
yes.
But we are saying you also didn't expressly say you're not. And because you didn't, there's an open possibility that it could have been perceived as you are. That's the reason why they responded to your questions.
Why,
Who questioned Mr.
who
Euster?
responded?
Who questioned Mr. Euster?
Mandla Mashlangu and myself.
So he answered you because he viewed you as a police officer.
I don't believe so, because I look at it.
Did he say to you he doesn't believe?
He
Because
never said it. I never said it.
his
But what-
affidavit said,
Pardon me?
his affidavit said, you looked, your posture was like a police officer.
No, but this is the
You had
affidavit.
a firearm.
This
And
is
when
the,
he and when he looked at you, he was convinced you were a police officer.
no, he wasn't.
Are you speaking for him now? He said that under oath.
He said it under oath because he was forced to say it under oath.
Did you
I
have a
think-
weapon?
I always carry a weapon.
So he saw the weapon. You were with police officers. He perceived you to be as such.
Okay,
Do you have the estate file of ERF, whatever that is, of
pardon me?
Sable Hills? Do you have the estate file of General
no,
Phaahlane?
IPID took that file.
How did you get it?
I didn't get it. They took it.
Did you visit Mr. Uster together with Mr. Maslango on 18 November?
Yes, I did.
And at that meeting is when you and Mr. Maslanga produced to him the certificate or the notice to produce evidence.
That was what Mandla Mashlango did.
And it is on that time that based on that notice that he gave the estate file
To IPID.
in your presence.
Yes, Chairman, I need to bring into account here, and you need to consider this. On the 13th of November, I sent an email to Chris Jooste, and it's contained within the sworn statement that I sent to the Sondag Commission, because what happened? Mr. Jooste had already provided a sworn statement to IPID. When we went there on the first meeting on the 9th of January, we tape recorded the whole thing. I admit there's nothing on the tape recording where I say I'm not from IPID.
Yes.
But there's also nothing there to say I am from IPID. But now, I sent him an email, and on the email is from Paul O'Sullivan, and underneath my signature, it says Paul O'Sullivan and Associates. So you cannot possibly construe that I'm from IPID. And I'll read the email to you, Chairman,
May I?
because he allowed us to take photographs.
Mr. Paulo Sullivan, thank you so much. Honorable
what
James.
happened?
Your time expires at 13 minutes past.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Sullivan, you previously stated before this committee that you hosted a book launch.
Pardon?
You previously stated before this committee that you hosted a book launch. That braai was a book launch, and you said it was a year-end function, right?
It was, no, I didn't say. it was a-
I'm not done.
Ah,
You previously stated that it was a book launch, a year-end function at the former home of serial killer, murderer, drug kingpin, Radovan Krechner. This morning you told us you didn't know the owner. Minutes later, we learned that he was a close friend of yours. Am I right?
I didn't.
And that you actually did the bidding for that house.
No, I didn't say I didn't know the owner. I said that
But you couldn't remember, you had all sorts of stories.
no, I said I contacted the owner and asked for permission to use the
You couldn't
house.
remember the name.
So sometimes you have to get it back, there's no doubt. in
Mr.
my-
O'Sullivan, you lied.
Okay,
You lied under oath this morning. And we've had enough of your lies at this point. You knew very well whose home that was. Mr. O'Sullivan, what was your main reason in that motivation letter that was written by Waterson for coming to this country? Let me remind you what was put in there. I believe he would be a very useful addition to the white community of this country. That's why you came to this country. That braai I have those invitations that went out as top secret. I'm not asking you to respond.
Can I see,
You have
can I see the,
called that meeting as top secret.
what,
You had AfriForum guests there, and up until today, we still don't know who were the DA members present at that meeting. Up until today. Now see where I'm going with this pattern. Here to help the white community.